Can a sequel be too good? Let's talk about Child's Play 2. So hello and welcome to David's Horror Corner. Today I'll be bringing you guys a review of Child's Play 2.
Child's Play 2. Keep an eye out for
it. So let's just go ahead and get right down into it. Plot and story. So this story takes place directly after the events of part 1, which kind of makes sense. This is part 2, but I think it's like a week or two later, something like that, long enough for Andy to get in the system and start being placed in a foster care home. It starts off really stupid. Like, the premise of Chucky getting resurrected is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and it makes zero sense from what we were led to believe from the first one. Like, he was shot in the heart, right? He was human. His heart was human. He's dead. Maybe he wasn't human enough. Whatever the case may be, for some ridiculous reason, the toy company, Good Guy Toy Company, whatever, is able to get Chucky's remains, refabricate them, renew them, and then he comes back to life looking for Andy again. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous and makes zero sense. Like, the company wouldn't be able to get hold of this stuff for one, but it's just, you gotta suspend some disbelief here. So that part of it's bad, but the rest of it's actually really good. Andy is now in the foster care system. His mother's been committed. Everyone thinks they're a little bit nuts, and it's kind of hard to blame them. Makes you wonder what happened to the cop too, right? But so Andy's going to start bouncing around through the system, and he is placed right away in a seemingly very nice, bucolic freaking, neighborhood foster home. And he lands on his feet because his foster parents are Phil and Joanne.
It's been in my family for 3 generations. My grandmother gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me.
And who are you going to give it to?
Phil being played by Garrett Graham, and Joanne being played by Jenny Agutter. You might remember her from American Werewolf in London as the nurse, and Garrett Graham has been in tons of things, so those are the parents. And Andy is once again played by Alex Vincent. Of course, Chucky is reprised by none other than Brad Dourif. I mean, who else can play him at this point, even then? So here we are introduced to basically the other main character of this movie, and that's Kyle, played by Christine Elise. She plays a teenager in this, but she was actually in her mid-20s. But she's kind of the big sister, the tough surrogate sister here, right? She's also kind of an orphan. She's bouncing around the system as well.
Every time it happens, it just makes me stronger, because it reminds me that the only one I can count on is myself. Okay, and you have to learn that now.
All said and done, Chucky's motives are exactly the same as the first movie. He works his way immediately back to Andy somehow, right? It's a chain of events that you have to see to believe. But basically, he gets back to the house really quickly, and he kind of starts blending into the environment, and once again gets closer to Andy, and then tries to reproduce the seance that put him in the doll's body back into Andy's body.
I got a new game, sport. It's called Hide the Soul, and guess what? You're it.
So it's basically just a continuation of the first movie, another chase to get Andy and transfer souls. So while the premise is absolutely ridiculous for the first part, and it makes no sense to the established lore already, because Chucky should be definitively dead at this point, new body or no, he was shot through the heart. Okay, the rest of the movie is actually pretty cool as far as story goes, and it's basically one gigantic chase scene, and once again, lots of people not believing Andy. So I'm going to go with the B, plot and story. Really strange and wonky beginning. I guess they had to make it happen somehow, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But the rest of it's actually pretty solid. So, B, casting characters. So, casting characters in this movie is really well done. And but there's not a lot. Just like the first movie, there's very few characters in this movie. There's probably like 6 named characters in this movie, and really only 4 of them get any screen time. Andy's once again, once I said, played by Alex Vincent, and he does pretty admirable job, I say. I say admiral, pretty admirable job as Andy. He plays vulnerable, no one believes me kid, kind of believably. I kind of like it. He's actually less whiny than he is in the first movie, and he kind of accepts things a little bit easier in this movie than you would think he would. But ably played. I really like the character of Kyle. She's a tough, no nonsense kind of orphan, whatever. It's been jumping around the system for years and years, and she's kind of a bad girl, but she's got a heart of gold, and she really fills a good void there for Andy. It's once again his mom's gone. He's basically all alone. The foster parents really can't spend much time with him. He's not even there that long, but. So yeah, Kyle is like basically the one who saves him multiple times in this movie, and I do like her character quite a bit. The other two really only ones that get much screen time at all are Phil and Joanne, the foster parents, and Jenny Gutter does a really good job as a kind of matronly, foster mother. She seems believable to me. She seems like she cares. I do believe Garrett Graham was miscast, though, as Phil. Garrett Graham is such a great actor, and he excels in those oddball roles. Look at him in Terror Vision, or the little role he had in Chopping Mall. He had a great role as a Q in Star Trek Voyager, right? He excels at those oddball roles. So when these casts for playing it straight, it doesn't work for me. It's probably mostly my own bias because I like him as a quirky character. It's just hard for me to see him play it so straight, because I know what a talented guy is for bringing life to a character, and this one is played basically without any life. So while he does a fine job, it's nothing against him. It's just I don't think this is the right part for him. He should definitely have played a wackier role, maybe a maniacal teacher or something, But so anyway, but it's ably played. So and that's basically it. And of course you have Brad Dourif providing the voice of Chucky, and he does an amazing job, even though he starts getting a little bit quippy in this movie, as opposed to a little more to business in the first movie. But yeah, you hear a lot more of him in this movie, and what you do here sounds amazing.
Dirt, Tommy.
Amazing voice work by Brad. So, but that's basically it. There's not too many other characters you get too much invested. There's the skeezy corporate guy, and then here's his assistant, the toady, who gets his. I don't know. Some of those characters are okay. I'm gonna go with a B casting characters. Not amazing or anything, but certainly much better than the average horror movie, especially at the time. So C, Kilgore and effects. Boy, this movie is kind of all over the place. Let's go ahead and get into the kills first. The kills are inventive. Not incredibly gory or anything, but they get the job done. Nothing too amazing here. There's only like 4 deaths, I think, in this movie. So once again, Child's Play movies are usually not known for huge body counts until a bit later installments. So that's fine. As many people died in this movie as needed to. And it was usually done with some kind of setup or a plot. So there's usually a little bit of tension before each one. Of particular note is the corporate toady who gets in the car. That one's kind of a brutal scene, really. The whole suffocation thing was, and it shows how sadistic Chucky really is, So he's not a nice guy. But nothing too amazing as far as, gore effects and all that. But the effects for Chucky are absolutely incredible. Man, he looks good. He looks a lot better than he did the first one.
You've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell.
Lip syncing is working much better. You see a lot of full body shots of him that are animatronic too. They're not obviously a little person in a costume, right? So he looks excellent, and just and that in the very end, and we'll get into that in a later category. But the ending scene is it must have taken a huge amount of setup and work to do. So that part, there's no problems there. I'm gonna go with an A. Kills, gore, and effects. Not so much for the kills, but the kills are inventive. But it's really the effects that bring this one above, and just Chucky's facial animations and body movements that he has later on are just pretty amazing. So gotta go A on that one. It's really, really good stuff there. Let's see. So D, entertainment and rewatchability. yeah, this is a very entertaining movie, but there's a slight caveat to it. This is kind of the one and done kind of thing. These big chase movies tend to be like that, you know what I mean? And this, like the last half of this movie is one big chase, basically. So once you've seen it once, a lot of that wears off, and you might start noticing some other parts of the movie might, bog down a bit. But really, it mostly just cruises by at a pretty good clip. Doesn't feel like there's too much wasted time in there, and it's highly enjoyable, especially on the first time watch. Like I said, the characters are fun. You do feel some empathy for Andy, and Chucky is a menace to society, to say the least. He is a force of nature, especially toward the end. So, yeah, I don't know how many times you're going to rewatch this, but if you're rewatching the Child's Play series, you're definitely not going to miss this. You're going to watch 1 and 2 in order, and then you may or may not skip most of the rest of them. It just depends on what your taste is, but there's no way that if you're a rewatcher of the series, you're going to skip this one. So let's just say that. So I'm going to go with a B for entertainment and rewatchability. Pretty entertaining as far as horror movies go, and but it may not be quite as rewatchable as some of the more classics like the first one. And I'll probably get a little bit of hatred for saying that. I mean, but because it's an enjoyable flick, don't get me wrong, and B is a really strong score. So, good stuff. Don't miss it for sure. But it might not be number one replay that you have. But your mileage may vary. So yeah, we're getting down close to the end now. So E. Ending. Okay, the ending is an A. The ending is something else. The ending is more like a big budget blockbuster. The ending reminds me a lot of like Terminator 2, right? The battling back and forth with Chucky, because Chucky is now, I'm not even going to spoil the story for you, but Chucky is, shall we say, playing more into the doll role, if you get what I mean. You probably don't, but whatever the case may be, it's tons of back and forth. Chucky takes a huge amount of punishment. He's chasing these people down relentlessly, and they're all doing it in different ways too. There's like car chases going on. There's changes of locale like crazy, and then the very final act takes place basically where Chucky was produced in the Good Guys factory, right? So there's huge sets, lots of running around, lots of creative ways for Chucky to stalk and kill, and then lots of creative ways for them to fight back against Chucky. So final act is tense. It's well played out, and it kind of makes sense thematically with what Chucky's going through and what he decides to do because of his situation. So love the ending. The ending is excellent, and really it's kind of a definitive ending, and probably should have ended there as far as the series go, but you know how it is with horror movies, you got to keep making those sequels. So then again, the first one was the definitive ending, so what are you going to do? But yeah, man, if you think Chucky take punishment in the first one, just check this one out. Oh my gosh. But it all looks so good that it's just it's a beautiful carnival of an ending. So definitely an A for the ending. So for the overall rating, I'm going to give this a B. This is a buy it. You don't want to miss this one at all if you're a Child's Play fan or really just a fan of more fun horror movies, right? This is not an exceptionally dark or scary horror movie, maybe for kids because of the whole doll thing, but so it's nothing that like a casual horror watcher wouldn't, it wouldn't bother, or even a casual movie goer, it really shouldn't bother them. None of the imagery here is too bad. There's no nudity, there's a little bit of swearing, mostly from Chucky. So it's all pretty tame. Like I said, the kills aren't really exceptionally gory or lengthy or anything like that. So, but it's just a great movie, and definitely a must own if you are a collector of the Child's Play series. So yeah, for just a quick recap of everything we did, plot and story was a B, solid, not too incredible or anything, but good small cast. Casting characters was an A. Really good, strong characters. That was the good thing about having a smaller cast. Kind of like the first one, you could focus more on setting up the characters and making them do more believable things. You don't have to worry about too much extrapolation or exposition, right? They just go in there and get it done. There's very few characters to worry about. So, but A, casting characters, excellent job on those. Kill score and effects was also an A, just because of the creativity of the kills, but most especially because of the work that went into making Chucky come to life. It's not easy. It's really not easy, especially in 1990. We weren't doing CGI. It's all practically done. So looks amazing, and there's a lot of full body shots of Chucky moving around, and his facial expressions and animations just look top notch. Leaps and bounds above the first one, really. And yeah, so great one. That's an A there. Entertainment watchability is going to be a B for me. It's great fun the first time, but it might not be nearly as fun the next couple of viewings, because the ending is a lot less tense when you know what happened. But that's about any movie, really. But I mean, the movie can drag on a little bit if you've seen it more than once. So I'm gonna go with B with that one, but it's still a great watch. Don't get me wrong. Definitely not something you would not watch once a year, if given the chance. So just a B on that one. And for the ending, I'm gonna go with an A. A was just incredible. It has to be seen to believe. It's just one big gigantic chase. It's I don't know. It's like there's two final girls, but sometimes they get separated, sometimes they get back together. But it's you got the child in peril once again, which adds another layer of tension, I guess you could say, to it. So for everything else, it's like a B plus. But I don't know if Derek would actually let me do a B plus. Yeah, he would actually. But so I would actually say more than a B. I'd say a B plus. It's definitely gonna own it. If you are, and it's really close to being an instant classic. If you are a fan of Child's Play, this is an instant classic, right? But if you're just a typical horror or moviegoer or casual horror fan, it's still an own it, but it's not something that's maybe gonna blow your mind completely and change the way you see horror movies like some other ones do. But it is a great movie, quite possibly the best in the series. It's debatable with the first one for me. But definitely much better, I'd say, than anything else that follows it. So, yeah, it's a B plus overall. Definitely, it's an own it movie, and should be a great time for anyone who gives it a chance. So, yeah, thanks again for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for checking out my channel. Until next time, this is David's Horror Corner. Out.